Okay, so I'm over here having a breakdown again and again about what's going on in my life. Emotional breakdown, crying, and everything. My life has been bad. And I decided that, I don't know how long I'm going to still have the internet on. I have no money. I have 39 cents in the bank. And I sold something on eBay for 20 bucks, so I'm waiting for that to clear. But if they don't put the money in first, I don't know how I'm going to ship it in order to get the money. So, anyway, the point is, I have no money. I haven't had money in a long time. This is my story and why my life is ruined. I'm 46. I grew up in the house that I live in now. I was a good kid. I did my best. We didn't have a lot of money. We never had money. But my mom owned this house. It's fallen apart. It's always been falling apart. But now it's almost like a horror movie house. Um, and I'm alone in it. What happened is, me and my mom lived here all these years. I had gone to college. I wanted to be an interpreter. I majored in Russian, graduated with a degree in Russian, not being able to speak Russian. Um, that didn't work out, so I just tried to get wherever job I could. I was in New York at the time. I went to NYU, and I decided I was going to try to just hang on and hopefully it will work out. And I just keep plugging, keep plugging. I was able to stay in New York for 4 years, just getting any old kind of job. I was just doing like secretary work, which was sad because it's exactly the kind of job I didn't want to do. And why I went to college in the first place, because my mom had always been miserable in office jobs, but that's what ended up happening. Then um, I got one bad job that I was like, I can't look for another job from that job because it was too far removed, all the way uptown at the Museum of Natural History. So it was impossible for me to look for another job while I was there. So I quit that job to try to find another job. And then I wasn't able to. And I had to come back home because very quickly you can't afford New York. So probably a couple months later. So I came back home in February 1999. And I just figured I'd have to start over. I'd find any old job and maybe I'd be able to pay off my school loans, and help my mom fix the house if she needed to fix it, and then start over again and have some kind of life and just have a do-over. But that do-over never happened. For reasons I still don't understand, I was not able to find a job at all. Not a good job, not a job I wanted, just any old job. I did at one point work at Barnes and Noble. It was a seasonal job, but I put on so much weight. I went from being 130 pounds to being 180 pounds in 5 months of being home. And I couldn't stand up. My feet were killing me. People were coming in and yelling at me that I was stupid. And I was making $8 an hour for 20 hours a week. And I was working one day just to pay for the bus fare to get there. And one day it was raining out and I needed to go to the bus stop because I don't drive. I don't have a car. I've never been able to afford to get a car, or even really, since I've been home, I haven't had, you know, I didn't have money in my pocket to go and get driving lessons even. And my mom never drove. So, because that day it was raining and I was supposed to go to the bus stop, I waited till the last minute to go to the bus stop and I just never went. I never went back to that job, and that was the last time I had a job. After everything I'd gone through to go to school and make it and hang on by my fingernails to get through college, I was standing next to kids who were going to my high school who hadn't graduated yet, and I couldn't do the job that they could. And that made me feel like the stupidest person in the world. But I just said to myself, I've got to be able to find some kind of job sitting down, because obviously I can't stand up. I can't stand behind a cash register. I can't stand in one place all day because that was too much pain. So I looked and I looked. I went down to the employment office almost every day until I realized the jobs weren't changing. And then I would go every other day, and then I went less and less. And then after years of this, with nobody calling me in for an interview. Look, if I went on interviews and they didn't like my face, They didn't like my personality. My hair was messed up. I said something wrong. I'd understand. But I wasn't getting called in on interviews. If you're not getting called in on interviews, I mean, how are you supposed to find a job? I didn't have connections. I didn't have anybody who I knew who owned a business who could have given me a job. I was just trying my best. So I did whatever I could. Then at some point, I just had to try to survive and to keep myself going, even though I felt really bad. I still had a credit card from when I went to school. I had opened a second bank account when I came, after I was home for a while. I opened a second bank account and I didn't want another credit card, but they said, well, it comes with the account anyway. Even though I wasn't working, I ended up with a second credit card. So over time, there's things you need to buy, and you end up using the credit card because you have nothing else. And then you just hope someday things are going to turn around. You hope someday, somehow, you're going to do something. I got involved in local stuff. I would go to public meetings because I understood how bad it was not having transportation. And at some point I thought maybe somehow I'll make a connection. Somebody, somewhere, I'll be able to find somebody who could be a reference if I ever do get a job interview. And I just kept plugging and kept putting one foot in front of the other and going day by day, hoping something was going to change. It didn't change. At some point, way later, I got sick. I had been anemic and not known it. I had had fibroids that were very bad. And I ended up so anemic that I couldn't breathe. And I called my mom from work. I went to the hospital in an ambulance. She had to meet me there, but by the time she got to the hospital, I guess I had already crashed and my organs were stalling or crashing, and they decided that I needed to be going a helicopter to Boston. And I guess they put me in a coma or I slipped into a coma. I still don't know because I was never able to see my medical records. More stupid stuff from being in a place like this. Anyway, I was there for a few days and I managed to get myself out of Boston without them giving the hysterectomy they wanted to give to me because I didn't want to do that. I didn't believe that I had cancer, and without that, there's no reason to get rid of it. You should just be able to get rid of the fibroids, right? Well, as a poor person on Mass Health, that's not how it goes. So they gave me these horrible shots that were supposed to maybe help shrink the fibroids. They did not. These Lupron shots, it's a horrible drug. It makes you want to kill yourself. So at some point I stopped taking, I said, that's it, I'm not doing the shots anymore. And then I almost bled to death a second time. So I had to have an emergency hysterectomy. That's when my life really ended. Because everything since then, I thought, well, I didn't die. Maybe I'm supposed to have, this is supposed to be my do-over. This is supposed to be my second win. No, that takes away so much hope. I never had kids, obviously. I never had money. I never had the ability to think about having kids. So now I would never have children, which wasn't a massive dream of mine, but once you can't have them and you're still young enough, you watch celebrities having kids at 45, 50 years old, and you know that that decision was taken away from you. It's really lousy. And I waited my whole life for things. I didn't wait like a baby, but I said, maybe God wants me to just wait. Maybe that's why my life's always on hold. Maybe I'm supposed to be patient because I'm not a patient person. But everything I told myself ended up being lies I told myself, I guess. Anyways, so that was about 5-6 years ago now that I had the operation, and I thought I would have a do-over, and that's not what happened. So